today. During this webinar, Brandi will be discussing how to automate as much as possible so we can all focus on creating more amazing services and products in our business. Thank you, Brandi, for joining us today. Please start whenever you're ready.
Hey everyone! If you need me to adjust my sound settings, my volume or anything, please let me know in case I'm too quiet or too loud, even though I've probably never been too loud in my life. It's awesome to see. I was checking out the attendee list. So it's about 50% names that I recognize. So hello to all of you guys. And then about 50% names that are not familiar to me. So it's exciting to uh, see new people and connect with new people. So Sandra says too quiet. Okay, I'm turning up my volume. Let me know if that is better. I'm not gonna yell. So if my sound is good, let me know. Today we are talking automation, and so it's going to be a lot of techie stuff. And speaking of techie stuff, so we're doing something new with quick meetings today. I'm going to be switching back and forth between my slides and my desktop, and we've never done that before with quick meetings, and we had some trouble right off the bat. And I think it's set up good, but if partway through we kind of like lose a desktop or lose the slides, just bear with me as we get them popped back up. So there's that caveat for today, but let's get going because what we're gonna talk about today, a lot of it is going to be kind of hands-on, actually exploring some of these tools. That's going to make up the bulk of the presentation, and so I want to make sure that we have lots of time for you guys to ask questions about those things. So don't skip out halfway through. At the end, I've got some kind of goodies for you. So there is a membership opportunity. It's totally free. Chance to win some consulting. And then also one more thing that I just kind of set up after the presentation was already created is that there's going to kind of be an encore presentation of this later on today. If you do have to leave partway through, or if you have even more questions, because usually what happens with this kind of stuff specifically is that you don't think of what you might want to ask until you've actually had a chance to see how it works and absorb some of the possibilities. And then your brain explodes with all the things that you need to know. So I anticipate on getting a lot of questions later, like people emailing me afterwards. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Brandi. And what I do is I help women entrepreneurs get stuff done. I know there's a swear on there. Sometimes I'm never sure if I'm allowed to swear on webinars. So to play it safe, we'll say get stuff done. And I do that by focusing on technologies, systems, and processes. And um, this is what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to kind of talk about why you might want to automate. A lot of you are here probably because you're on board with automation and maybe you just want to know more about it. But for anyone who's kind of on the fence about um, is automation good or bad or what are the benefits, we'll cover a couple of those. Then what kinds of things can you automate? It will be a really high level overview because we're going to get into the detailed stuff a little bit later on. Then we're going to go over very briefly kind of the main features of the three tools that I want to show to you today, which are Zapier, Automate, and Integromat. So we'll have a quick kind of comparison of those. And then we're going to dive right into looking at those three tools and what you might be able to do with them. Then once we've done that, answered any questions that pop up, I'll pop back over to the slides and we'll do the membership opportunity and the giveaway, and I'll give you the details of the encore presentation. So let's get started. I have scrolled too far in my slides. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is talk about why you might want to automate. So really briefly, there's a lot of reasons But just of time, I kind of narrowed it down to the most important ones for people in business. So here they are in a nutshell. You want to save time. So you don't want to spend your time doing all these little admin tasks. You want to focus on the things that are making money. So it's kind of that difference between focusing your time on the stuff that is making you money and trying to outsource or automate the rest of it. The other thing is that it reduces the risk of human error. So your computer doesn't get sleepy, your computer doesn't get distracted. Now, I all know some of you are thinking, okay, but computers go haywire and technology doesn't always work. And that is true. Nothing is foolproof in life. Um, but there are those risks of, just getting distracted, clicking the wrong thing, accidentally deleting stuff. Um, because for the most part, computers and technology just do what we tell them to do, and that's it, right? The other thing is that they're going to save you money. So, and this kind of goes along with the fourth point where give your team more meaningful work. So if you are someone who is looking at getting a VA, or you have a VA and you're wondering what kinds of things that you could give them to do, or if you are a VA and you're like, no, computers are going to steal my career, my job, not to worry. So what automation can do is it can take those kind of low level or repetitive tasks off the plate of you or your VA, and then you can, so it's saving you money if you don't need to hire someone to do that. If you have a team, you can invest that money in those people and give them like more meaningful work. So things that are a little bit more high level, instead of having them spend hours doing those repetitive tasks, they could be spending those hours doing things that are going to be more impactful to your business, right? So that is why I say we should automate the things that we can, the things that make sense. And the things that make sense for me to automate might not make sense for you to automate. Everyone's business is really unique. The way everyone works is really unique. And the tools that we use, because there's such a variety out there, again, can be really unique in the combination of those tools. Before I go any further, because I forgot one thing, if you guys have questions as we go, I'm going to address them as they pop up. I'm not going to leave them till the end, especially for the demo part, because you'll probably have questions about the specific things that we're looking at on the screen. So if anyone has a question, pop it in the comments or in the chat. Sorry, I'm so used to doing Facebook Live instead of these traditional. Pop it in the chat, and I am keeping an eye on it, and we'll talk about the things as they come up. So what kind of things can you automate? So this is typically where people get stuck because it's either you can't quite wrap your brain around how these tools work and what they can do, or you do learn what they can do, and it's so the possibilities are so overwhelming that your brain just goes like slams on the brakes and says like there's so many things I could do, I don't even know where to start. So I wanted to give you guys some really high level ideas of what you might be able to do. And I'm kind of operating under the assumption that the majority of you might be new to automation. So I'm not going to get super, super complicated with this stuff. But if anyone does have a lot of experience with it and you want to ask me a complicated question, go ahead. And I'll just try to make sure that it is relevant for everyone. If it's a little bit too specific, I might leave it to the end, or I'll maybe shoot you an email afterwards. Let's just make sure that everything we talk about is going to be of value to everyone today. So back to the kinds of things you can automate. So you can back up your contacts. That is always a good one to have. You can add articles to your social media scheduler. That's something that I think we could all make use of. Another good one is to create a to-do from an email. So if you don't, if you get a lot of emails and they tend to be actionable items, and you're trying to manage your task list from your emails, I've done that. It's not great. Move those over into a proper to-do list software or project management software. Um, you can add new customers to your mailing list. You can copy files or information from one location to another or one program to another. And that's just like literally whatever is smaller than the tip of an iceberg, like the molecule on the tip of the iceberg. That's kind of where we're at right now. I didn't want to overwhelm you guys with too much stuff, but I am hoping that some of this will spark some ideas and questions for you guys. So let's look at Zapier and Automate and Integromat. There are some other solutions out there, and so I'll just address the one that maybe a lot of you have heard of is IFTTT, if this then that. And you may be wondering, why isn't she going to talk about IFTTT? The reason why I didn't include that in this presentation is because if this and that is geared more towards personal use, not so much toward business use. And so what happens is that number one, they tend to be missing a lot of business software and integrations that you can do. So there's that. And then there's also the other thing that I found with If This Then That is compared to the other ones, they tend to have more issues in terms of connections just breaking or not working. And partially because they are focused on consumers, so they probably don't have as big a team. They're not making as much money, and so the support is just not there as much as with the other ones. So if you are an If This Then That user, or you plan to use that in the future, that is fine. Just keep those things in mind that they might not have the the services that you need for business purposes, and there's a little bit higher risk that the automations that you create will maybe just break randomly for no reason. Okay. So let's look at a quick overview of these guys. So they all have a free plan. So they're all things that you can try before you buy. The free plans are not equal. And the reason for this is, so like you can see, so Zapier has the most restrictive free plan, I guess is how I'll put it. And so I say 5 integrations and 100 tasks. And so an integration is basically when you have two things that you're connecting together, that's your integration. The task is when that thing executes, right? And so you can have 5 different integrations in a month, or 5 different integrations, and in a monthly period, those 5 things can execute 100 times, and then you've reached your limit, and then they won't work again until the next month, and then your usage resets. So that Zapier Automate again has 5 integrations, but you get 250 tasks. And then Integromat, you can have as many integrations as you want, and you're capped at 1,000 tasks. So clearly, Integromat has the best free plan, but it is the least user-friendly, and we'll get into that a little bit. In terms of the services that you can connect, Zapier, because it is the most established, of course, it's head and shoulders above the other ones. It's got over 1,000 services that you can connect to each other. So if you were going to try any of these out, my recommendation would be to look at Zapier first to see what the possibilities could be. And then if you decide you don't like Zapier, at least you can see what's out there and move on to the other ones. Then I want to talk about the task frequency. So when these integrations execute, When you're on a paid plan, for the most part, they will be instant. So as soon as something happens, it executes. On the free plans, there's usually a delay. So just be aware of that. That will probably make more sense once we get into some of the examples. But if you need, like when this happens, then your integration does this thing. If you always need that to happen instantly, it's important to know that ahead of time because if you're on a free plan, your free plan might not allow you to do that. And like I said, Integromat is maybe the least user-friendly. Zapier is definitely the most user-friendly, and Automate functions very similar in terms of how it's laid out. Integromat, it is the most advanced. It has actually a bit more advanced features than Zapier. They're really gunning to be a big Zapier competitor. And so instead of focusing on trying to match 1,000+ services, what they're doing is they're trying to fill in the gaps of the things that Zapier can't do yet. And you can get like really, really complicated and really, really advanced integrations with them. Um, it's just that I wouldn't suggest starting with Integromat, but I do want to show you guys how it works. And then, of course, if you find the free plan is not meeting your needs, they all have paid plans. Obviously, Integromat is the lowest paid plan because it's the newest. It's not going to be $9 a month. Absolutely no way. I'm sure eventually, give them, say, a year, they'll probably be closer to what Zapier and Automate are, which is around the $25 a month mark. If you pay annually, there's a discount. It just depends on what your cash flow is. So I breezed through that really quickly because the bulk of what I want to show you guys is the actual hands-on stuff. So that is what I'm in right now, and we're probably going to spend most of the rest of our time together actually going through and showing you these three tools. So before I switch over to my desktop, and fingers crossed that it works, does anyone have any questions? I don't see any typing yet. I think we're all good. Okay, so fingers crossed. First, I have to move this one tab over, and then I'm going to switch to my desktop. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my desktop now. So if you can't, let me know. Actually, let me know what you see. If you can see the desktop, if okay, Michelle, I see it. I see it. Okay. So Jade had a question, and now the chat is over here on the other screen now. So now it's not that I'm not looking at you guys or ignoring you. I'm reading the stuff over here. Okay. So quickly, Jade had a question that I just lost. Have you tried ClickFunnels to automate? So ClickFunnels is a service that automates your sales funnels. Um, I'm only a little bit familiar with ClickFunnels. I have other software, so I've never needed to use it, so I don't have any experience with it. So just keep in mind that the stuff that we're talking about today to automate, these are things that automate everything. Everything is maybe not the right word to use, but they're not services that allow you to automate one specific thing. Like here's how you automate your sales funnel, or here's how you automate your webinar. These services are connecting everything and allowing you to automate whatever you can. Right? Okay, so this is Zapier, and that's what I've got up on the screen. So we're gonna kind of poke around in Zapier first. But as what I want you guys to do is if you have ideas for what things that you might want to automate, I want you to put them in the chat because I think it would be much more helpful for you guys if we could kind of walk through the examples that you want to see. I'll show you some of the things that I have, but like I said, the things that I need to automate might not be the things that you need to automate. But I do kind of want to um, show you these examples to start to uh, tweak your ideas and inspire you. Because I do understand that if this isn't something that you've looked into before, it can be kind of hard to wrap your brain around how this works. Right? Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to show you the zaps that I have set up right now. And some of them are zaps that run all the time. And then sometimes I have zaps that I just need once in a while. So I'll turn them off and on as needed. Okay. So here I've got a big list of zaps. I've just got 5 turned on right now. Um, so this is what would be, is there one there that you guys are particularly interested in? I should make sure I'm checking the chat. I see stuff. I see stuff in there that I'm missing. Okay, Jade saying, can we automate the sale process like Salesforce? Um, I'm sure you can. It would just depend on what software you're using, like what are all the pieces, and if one of these 3 tools has those connections, right? Like for example, when what would be like a really simplified kind of sales example. So say I'm selling like an actual product, somebody goes to my website and they purchase something and I sell my stuff with PayPal. So they purchase my thing and I have a Zap or um, an integration set up. I should use consistent terminology. I have an integration set up that's like, okay, when someone purchases whatever it is, add them to my mailing list and trigger this email automation. And so they would probably get like, thank you for your purchase. And then they would get whatever extra value I might want to send after that, maybe ask for a review, like that kind of thing. Um, so it's really designed to connect things that don't already have those features. Or if there's a software out there like a Salesforce, like Etsy and Amazon have all those kinds of things built in for sales. But if you can't afford to purchase those or sign up for them, you can use Zapier to connect a bunch of free things together. It's more work, but it saves you money, right? So time, money. All right. Okay. Colleen says Trello is of interest. So this one, what I have done here. So I use Trello for almost everything. So when people book, it's called a coffee chat. You can see there. It's basically my discovery call. So when people book that with me, I want that to show up in Trello because when people book with me, there's a checklist of things that I want to do before we meet, right? I want to make sure I've reviewed their website, that I understand what they want to talk about on our discovery call, that I've checked them out, so I kind of know what they're doing in the context of what they need. So what I've done here, and you can see the little icon shows you what services. So this is Google Calendar and this is Trello. So I'm going to go right into the settings for this. So there's a trigger and an action, right? So you have to think about, okay, what do you want to happen? And what I wanted to happen was I needed a Trello card to show up in my dashboard so that I knew I had something I needed to do. Because if it doesn't show up in Trello, then I have no idea that there's something that I have to do. So how do I get that Trello card in there without me having to manually create it? So the easiest way was to connect my Google Calendar. So when somebody books their call with me, it creates an appointment on my calendar and it has a specific name. It's called Coffee Chat. So what I did was I told Zapier, okay, so go onto my Google Calendar and I want you to do something whenever you have an event that matches this specific thing, which is in these options. There's my calendar. If there's an event with the search term virtual coffee, that's the trigger. Then what it does is it creates the card. And it creates the card. So here's how deep you can get. So you have to tell it what board and what list so that it knows where to go, right? And then you can say, give it these names, and it's pulling these fields from the Google Calendar template, I guess. And so here's the name of it, here's the date and the time. Then in the description of the card, here's the details that are in the Google Calendar description. So I'm information in from Google Calendar. And I think that's all I needed, right? But you can get a lot more detailed with what you need. You can even assign it to a certain person in Trello. Um, I have a due date because that's important. And I do have a checklist, right, that automatically gets added to the card. So I know these steps, right? So these would be some of the steps that I need to do. And it does that all automatically. So as soon as that event shows up on my Google Calendar, Zapier will see it and will create that card for me. So does anyone have something that they think they might do that we could maybe actually walk through creating it from scratch in Zapier? Now, while you guys are thinking of that, I want to go to apps here. So all of these services have different terminology. So, I used integrations. So I use services, integrations, and all of these companies use different words for different things. So apps are services. These are the services you can connect to. There's over 1,000. So what I would recommend, and you can do this for Zapier and Automate, is go through or search or browse for the things that you use, connect them, and then when you go back to the Zapier homepage, what it will do is it will look at the services that you've connected and it will come up with ideas specifically for you, right? So I have 25 things connected. And so down here, here's all popular integrations or zaps. The most popular ones specifically for the services I have connected. So it's like a personalized recommendation list. And this is really, really helpful because the options in Zapier can get a little bit overwhelming. Okay, I want to keep an eye on the chat. Nobody has something that they might want to look into. Here, I'll give you an idea of here's what I have connected. Lots of Google stuff because I use Google everything. But also like there's Kajabi. I have it set up for text messages, Stripe and survey stuff. My bookkeeping software, of course, Trello, we saw that. Book Like a Boss is my online appointment booking. Okay, so Colleen, Gmail to Google Sheets is also interesting. Was that one? Oh, that was probably one of the goals. Yeah. So, what this one? This this actually has to do with Trello. Can it extract from text of email or just subject line? Colleen, you can. It's a little bit more complicated. It's called parsing. So you can have it look for more specific things than just subject lines, actually. So let's pretend like we're going through. Okay, so this is helpful when you just do this because then it shows you what actions are available. So when you look at Gmail, so here are the things that can trigger just a new email in general. You can star it if there's an attached a specific label or a new email matching a specific search. So that might be what you want to do. And then in the sheet, it tells you, okay, and then when that happens, here's all the options you have, right? So create a row in the spreadsheet, um, create a new worksheet, update a row. Um, if you need it to go beyond just say a subject line or a from email address, then you can do it. It's more complicated. It's a bit advanced Zapier. um, but it is possible. But it's something that you probably need to look into a bit more in terms of how to get it to work like that. And so, yeah, I won't go into parsing, but something else for you guys to keep in mind too is that these suggestions, when you're starting out, if you can find an integration that's already really close to what you want, and then just work off of that template and tweak it how you want, sometimes a lot easier than creating a brand new one from scratch. I know that's how I started out. I just looked at the ones that were there and went, okay, that's exactly what I want in some cases. And in other cases, it's like, that's really close to what I want. And so then I would open it up and see if I could tweak it to make it do exactly the thing that I needed. And then eventually I just got comfortable enough with these tools that I could just go and create one from scratch. Okay. Okay. So I can come back to Zapier if you guys want. And because I anticipate this is the one that if you're going to be using one, it's probably going to be Zapier. Or if you're going to play around with one, probably going to be Zapier. But I'm going to pop over to Automate briefly. So go back to the home page. So in terms of usability, it's the most similar to Zapier, but it only has about 75 services, right? It has a lot less variety than the other ones. So it's more kind of, I don't want to say a clone of Zapier, but they are very close. And so if you're really, really bootstrapping, here's a tip. So if there are things that you're doing in Zapier and main integrations can be set up and automate, and you've reached your Zapier max and you just can't put the $25 a month down to pay for Zapier, set up whatever you can and automate instead, and then you could have 10 integrations, right? If you're using both services. So it's a little bit messy if you have to go in and check things and you're like, oh, which one is it in? But it's not the end of the world. So just a little bootstrapping tip if you need to. There was one point where I did that and I was like, I kept maxing out my Zapier like 10 days in every time. And the one that was had the most tasks running in a month, I could do it in Automate. So I just moved it over here. Then my Zapier was good. I never maxed it out. Okay. So again, Automate, if you connect the services that you use, it starts to suggest um, integrations for you, which again, super, super helpful when you're just starting out. And also sometimes I come in and browse just for inspiration because these these websites, like they'll add new services, they'll add new integrations and new fields and things you can do. And if you don't necessarily have the time to keep up with all of that, if sometimes you just come and browse and say, oh, hey, I can do that now, that would be really neat. And then you set it up, right? So um, here's what I have in, no, so I only have 3 in here right now. This one, so for let's talk about this Facebook pages one, right? Because social media, all of these connect with almost all social media. It just depends on what you want to do with it. I tend not to use a lot of automation when it comes to, say, social media posting per se. But I did set up this one. This is one that I could have set up in Zapier too. But I wanted to, of course, test out all of these things. And I have the notifications on my phone turned off. So if I get a Facebook like or comment or anything, my phone doesn't ding. And that's the way I want it. But when I get a message to my page, uh, that's a little bit more urgent than, say, somebody commenting on a post. And so I want to respond to that a bit quicker than I might to a comment. So I have this integration set up so that I get a Trello card. I could have set it up with Gmail. So basically what happens, somebody sends a message to my Facebook page, I get a Trello card created. And the reason why I did that is because I have Trello open all day. Now, if that's not you, you could have it set to send you an email or send a to-do to whatever software that you're using, if it's available, of course, in Automate. But that's how I did that. And then again, this Google Calendar, it's very similar to the Trello coffee chat thing I did, except this one I actually have connected to my personal calendar because I add all the events to my Trello board so that I can see at a glance everything I have going on so I don't double book anything or overload myself on any given day. So I actually also add personal events to Trello so that I have an accurate picture of my schedule. And because of the way this stuff works, so I couldn't set up an integration that adds events from my business calendar and my personal calendar. You have to connect it to one thing. So the one in Zapier connects to my business calendar. The one here connects to my personal calendar. Okay, but check the chat quickly. Okay. So then I'm going to quickly show you Integromat. But before I do that, how are you guys feeling? The chat is quiet, but that could be because you're all thinking seriously about what you might want to do with these. Or you're overwhelmed and going, oh God, my brain is full already. Okay, Michelle, loving this. Jade, awesome. Colleen, we are thinking. Okay, good. Yeah, definitely. Sandra says, I think it's something I have to try to see how it works. And yes, that is, that's definitely the key. Like after this, go in and play around with it to kind of see specifically what you might be able to do in your business. Um, because we're all doing things a little bit differently. Okay. So I'm gonna pop over to Integromat. So this is what this looks like. So this is the one where you can have unlimited integration, but you get capped at 1,000 tasks per month. Okay. Now you can tell I don't use this one very much because most of what I need is covered in Zapier, um, because I'm only at three things for the month. But there was um, something that Integromat can do that the other ones cannot do yet. Although Zapier can probably do this at a more advanced level, whereas this is the one thing in Integromat that's a little bit easier. So there's this option here called devices. And you can see I've connected my phone. So I can actually connect. So my phone now is one of the services that I can integrate. And this this is kind of a fun one. I want to show you what I've done. Um, oh, I did that. I did that over in Zapier. Um, this is something that can be really handy. So this is one that definitely can't do an automate. And again, you could probably do it in Zapier, but it's it would be a little bit more advanced. So what I did was I connected my phone, and so now when I have contacts in my iOS contacts, like if somebody texts me or calls, and you kind of get to the point where things are a little bit fragmented because you've got things like I've got contacts on my phone that aren't in my Google contacts. And really, my Google contacts are my main contacts. And so sometimes I know I've texted someone or we've called or something, and I'm trying to email them and I can't find their info anywhere, but I come over to my phone and it's there. It's a little bit annoying. And so this is basically kind of syncing things up. So if I have a new contact on my phone, it's going to automatically get added over into Google Contacts. So it just keeps everything in one place. It's really, really handy. Um, I'm also using, this is one that you could have set up with any three of the services. So if I get a new active campaign subscriber or a subscriber to any common popular email service, um, then it creates a new row in a spreadsheet that I have set up. And so basically I'm backing up all my contacts. And when those contacts are updated, it also updates, it doesn't add a new spreadsheet row, it updates the existing row for them. So in the event that I accidentally deleted my entire active campaign account or somebody hacked it or I deleted all my contacts, like weird things happen. I have that spreadsheet that I can just re-upload them. And the thing about Integromat, uh, it has a lot of different filters and options, and so it allows me to not only download or back up like the email address and the person's name, it also logs what tags they have, what lists they were subscribed to, that kind of stuff that's important when you want to go put them back, because you need all that stuff. All that's important, right? And so these could run 1,000 times in a month, and I would and I would be good. I wouldn't have to upgrade. my my service. Okay, I'm gonna pop over. There was one cool thing that I forgot to show you guys. We'll have to go back to Zapier, but I'm going to check the comments quickly because I see some stuff here. Okay, Carla, my biggest intimidation is the concern with needing a million ideas for content for all of these platforms at once. Well, it's not that you need a million ideas. It's just if you have something in your business that is really repetitive and it's like, I don't want to do this anymore, then you just come and see if this can do it for you, right? Um, yeah, if there's something you're doing that's kind of a time suck and it's just a repetitive task that a robot can certainly do this, then that's what you want to come over here for. Shannon, hey Shannon, want to creep around a new Zapier account? That could be arranged. Right. And Sandra, so could you move phone numbers from a document or a calendar to a phone? Let me think. So yes, like I'm thinking if you had a bunch of phone numbers in a spreadsheet, it would have to be to work the easiest, it would have to be a Google Sheet. Integromat actually does integrate with some Microsoft stuff. I'm sure. Let's take a peek. No, what do we want? Let's go to template. Zapier and Automate don't. Okay, that's all. It's just Word template. I thought maybe they were, oh, they also OneDrive and OneNote. So Integromat has some extra options for that. But yeah, so kind of it would basically work. They say, okay, so the trick is though that it has to be triggered by something. So you would, and I've done stuff like this before. I set up a spreadsheet that just had the column headings and it was empty. And then I created the integration that said when something is added, when information is added to this spreadsheet, then do this. And so for your example, it could be okay when information is added, when a row is added to this spreadsheet, then add that information to Google Contacts or whatever that might be, as long as you have both of those services. And then you just paste in all the stuff, and that's what triggers it to run. So in theory, yeah, that's totally possible. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna pop back over to Zapier for a second because there's something kind of cool that I wanted to show you guys. One of my zaps that I've had set up for a long, long time. It's this one called Cha-Ching. So, I'm gonna open it up and we'll walk through it. So this this isn't one that's necessarily saving me time, but it brings me joy. And that is also important. So here's what I have set up. When I get a new email that has a specific label, actually, let me back up a step. So my Gmail inbox, I have set up a lot of automatic filters with labels so my inbox doesn't get overcrowded. And one of those filters is that when I get an email, um, say from PayPal or has the subject line, a certain subject line, it number one skips my inbox. It gets automatically labeled with a certain label. So that's the filter. So I have that set up in my Gmail already. So in Trello, I said, okay, when that happens, so when that email gets that label added, and I've set it up here so it knows here's the specific label that it gets. So Zapier knows to look for any emails with this label. then send me a text message. And so Zapier, again, I haven't connected my phone to Zapier per se, but they do have kind of a built-in service where you can connect, say, your phone like via text or via phone call. You're not connecting your whole phone the way you do with Integromat. But I set it up so that when Zapier sees an email with that label bookkeeping, it sends me a text. And so it just generates a random phone number. I'm going to pop it up so you can hear. There's an important sound setting that I want you guys to hear. So it just creates a random phone number. And so I know I'm always going to get a text from this specific phone number that's just a random Zapier phone number. And there it is. And so then it's going to send me the title. The text message is just going to be the subject line of the email. But this is the important thing. When I get that text, I don't know if you guys will be able to hear this. When I get that text, I better turn the sound up. This is what my phone will do. So basically, I have the filter set up so any incoming money notifications that I get in my Gmail, I get a text that goes cha-ching. And honestly, there are a few better feelings when you're just sitting around wherever and all of a sudden your phone goes cha-ching and people go, what's that? And you're like, I just got paid. I just sold something. I just made money. So that's kind of just a fun one that I just set up for myself. I didn't come up with that by myself. It was something that I had learned about from, they're called the Boss Project now, and they had done it with some different services. And I was like, I'm sure I can do this in Zapier. So I set it up. But yeah, so that's just one for fun. But that's the kind of neat thing that you can do with Zapier. Okay, so I I can definitely stick around to answer more questions, but I want to pop back over to the slides for a minute because please work. Okay, yay! Because I wanted to talk about this before we come to the end of the hour. So this is going to be really brief. So I wanted to talk about a membership opportunity and a giveaway. So I have a membership called School for Heartful Entrepreneurs. And some of you guys are already in it. And some of you might even recognize this picture because it was taken at the West KGM last year. Yeah, the one last year, I think. I'm pretty sure it was last year. And so the School for Heartful Entrepreneurs, I talk a lot of tech and systems and processes, but the people who I love to help the most tend to be women who they're trying to reach that balance between designing a life and a business that allows them to enrich their own lives and create the lifestyle they want, but that also enriches and improves the lives of others. So they're trying to be of service to people, and that might be through services, that might be through products. That part doesn't matter, but really, not to be cheesy, but they do want to make the world a better place, but they also want to be really happy while they're doing it. So that's what we're all about. And I want to invite you guys to join because the kinds of things that we talked about today, this is the kinds of things that we talk about all the time. And we're not always just talking about these like automation tools. It's tech for like your business. So for marketing, for operations, for productivity, all that kind of stuff. So the link is right there. It's thebrandygood.com/join she, and School for Heartful Entrepreneurs is abbreviated SHE, and that is not an accident. So it was a happy coincidence. But here's what I want to do. So that's the membership opportunity. But the first 3 people who sign up, I want to give you guys a flash automation consultation. And so basically, we'll just spend like 20 minutes. And if you have an idea, we'll just walk through Zapier or walk through Automate and try to get it set up for you, or help you wrap your head around an idea that you might be able to do. So we'll just have like a coffee chat and kind of walk through one of these. So now, given that some of you guys in here are already members, I don't want to leave you out. So you don't need to join again, but you can just shoot me an email. And I realized I didn't put that email. I'm putting it in the chat now. So if you are not a member and you're one of the first 3 to join, or if you already are a member and you're one of the first 3 to email me. So I'll take 3 people from both of those groups. That is all I can do right now, just 3. Um, so if you want some extra help with that, go ahead. And then the last thing that's not on the slide, I mentioned I was going to be doing an encore presentation of what we've talked about today. And that is going to happen inside my membership group. So we're going to go through basically just the parts where I'm showing you Zapier Automate and Integromat and talking about the different ideas. So you um, if you have more ideas that you want to discuss, if we get off this webinar and you suddenly have 5 questions and you didn't get into the first 3 things, you can just come over and join us inside the Facebook group and answer and get all your questions answered there. Okay, because we'll go through some of this stuff again, but there will be some different people, and so we'll probably have some different questions and different examples. Okay, right. Jade says, I just joined. Yay, thank you. I should have had something set up so that when people joined, my phone made a sound. If I had been thinking, I would have set that up so you guys could have heard that. All right. I think that is everything. Now we went super fast because there's a ton that we could have done, um, but I did want to try to keep it as simple and straightforward as possible. If you guys have any more questions, I can stick around for a few more minutes if there's anything specific anyone wants to know. If you think you'll just join the Encore one, that is fine. But I will hang out for a couple minutes in case there are extra questions. Okay, I see people typing, but just thank you. Okay, that's nice. Michelle says thanks. Judy says thanks. Linda says thanks. Okay, yeah. So if anyone, and of course, the nice thing about oh, I hear an echo. Sorry. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm losing my English now after an hour.
Okay, Brandi, I'm just going to quickly interrupt before any last minute questions come in. I would like to give a huge thank you to Brandi for sharing some really great information with us today. I also want to say thank you to everyone that was able to join us on today's webinar. You'll be able to view this webinar on demand on our website within a couple days. Our next upcoming webinar will be on May 15th with Jenny Hart of Core Benefits, and she'll be sharing with us how we can offer benefits no matter how small our business or organization is. Registration is on our website, and that'll be open tomorrow, so stay tuned there. I will pass it back to Brandi in case there's any other questions that might come up.
Perfect. So Elise, how's this tape? Yeah. I think it was, she just said a couple days, 2 or 3 days, the replay will be up on their website. You can catch the replay there. we're also doing I'm doing encore of this over in my membership Facebook group. So you can come join us there if you have more questions or just want more info, or if I know I went really fast, so if anyone just needs to see it again, you are welcome to come over and join us there. I don't think we have any more questions. Everyone's too busy thinking stuff. Yeah. So just more thanks, Joan, Angelica, Chandra. Thanks everyone for coming in and hanging out with me over lunch or whatever time zone you're in. Because I know not everyone on this call is in Saskatchewan. Okay. Yeah. So I think that is going to be it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brandi.
Okay. Thanks, guys.